All right, hello everyone. Today we're giving a talk on sort of the 1931 Henderson Streamline Motorcycle. The Henderson Motorcycle Company was founded in 1911 by brothers William and Tom Henderson. The Henderson Motorcycle Company was the first American manufacturer to introduce the kickstand. These bikes quickly set pace for long distance and endurance records. And the Henderson 4 had a 19-year life ending in 1931 with this model here. So in 1913, a 1912 Model A circled the globe, and in 1917, a Model G shattered the transcontinental long distance and 24-hour records. In 1922, Harley-Davidson challenged Henderson to a contest in which Henderson won 11 out of 12 heat races. 1922 also saw a Model K set a 24-hour endurance record that would stand for 11 years. Streamline was introduced in 1929 and boasted a variety of innovations, including 57 new features, 40 horsepower at 4,000 RPM, and top speeds at over 100 miles per hour. The Henderson inline engine was a favorite of light plane builders for its smooth, quiet, vibrationless power. One such engine was used in sort of Owl's Head Transportation Museum's Milliken Special. In 1917, Henderson sold out to Ignaz Schwinn of Schwinn bicycle fame and manufacturer of the Excelsior motorcycles. He then produced it as Excelsior Henderson Motorcycles. Schwinn remained the third largest motorcycle manufacturer in the United States until the Great Depression. And in 1931, due to the Great Depression, the Schwinn Motorcycle Company failed. And so a little history about this specific motorcycle. This Henderson motorcycle was donated by William Wigglesworth on August 21, 1978.
Yeah. Kind of a name make you giggle just a little bit, but he's been a strong supporter of the museum for years. So to go with a little bit of what Jonah said about this motorcycle. So Henderson closed up shop in 1931, even though all of the production for that year was sold. They saw that the Depression was going to last longer than they thought. They didn't want to go down in flames. They stopped producing motorcycles and just concentrated on bicycles and Whizzer frames. And we did the Whizzer a few weeks ago, and the frames for the Whizzer motorcycles were built by Schwinn. So there's some shared DNA there. These were used in aviation. They'd turn the engine around, cut the transmission off it, and make a casting for the other end and mount the prop to it. Good horsepower engines, and they turn to high RPM. So most everything in the motorcycle world, 31 and older, you know, if you got 2,000, 2,500 RPM out of it, that was an engine that was turning up pretty quick. These would hit 4,000 RPM, so it was a high RPM engine, and they'd go. Their big claim to fame was you could go from 10 miles an hour to 100 miles an hour in high gear. So they were very torquey engines. These are very smooth engines. They're balanced very well as opposed to the V-twins of the time or the big singles. So riding this motorcycle is actually a beautiful motorcycle drive. These were $435 in 1931, whereas the 1932 VL that we have on display was $340. So these were significantly more money, which we're getting a lot more motorcycle at the time. So a couple little things. One, this uses Harley-Davidson style controls. The throttle, the timing, the gear selector, the clutch, everything is laid out like the Harley-Davidson motorcycles of the time. This has a clutch more like your car. It's a spring-loaded clutch. The other motorcycles that we have on display, and most of the motorcycles at the time that had a foot clutch, were a friction clutch. When you push down on it, it would stay there until you manually rocked it back. These aren't. These have spring pressure on them, and getting used to driving this is a little bit more of a challenge because you have to find that friction point while you're balancing everything. 40-year restoration. They started restoring this bike in 1981, 1982. Warren and a few volunteers when Warren was first on staff here. They had sent the engine out, had the lower end rebuilt. They had done the paint. They had done everything. They got the motor up and running. It wouldn't build oil pressure. They stopped. Smart thing to do. Park the bike. Couldn't figure out why it wouldn't build oil pressure. And so in that 40 years or 30-something years that it sat, the motor stuck from just sitting because nobody had touched it. Nobody had played with it. It was kind of an off-limits bike. And then, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago now, Warren tasked me and Travis Price with seeing if we could do something with this. Well, we got the engine unstuck, and we're able to with the help of the internet and some phone calls, figured out what was wrong with the oil pump, built oil pressure, got the bike running. Magneto failed. Real funny little story. We had to send the magneto out to get repaired. We sent it out Midwest. He couldn't fix it, so he sent it back to Massachusetts. The guy in Massachusetts couldn't fix it, so he wound up sending it back to Maine, to Limestone, where they were able to fix the magneto on this bike. So the magneto on this bike has more miles on it than the bike does in the last 50 years, which is kind of funny. All right, so again, 1931, Henderson died. 1998, the Hanlon brothers tried to bring back the Henderson motorcycle, and they had a fairly successful motorcycle, but they were really bad businessmen. So in 1999, they went bankrupt the first time. Then 2001, they went bankrupt the second time. So Excelsior and Henderson have died officially. Last thing really I've got is Jonah had mentioned first motorcycle to circumnavigate the Earth. It's a great book. It's called Journey Around the World. It's more on the destinations than the motorcycle itself, but it talks about how things broke, how they had to fix them in different countries. Recommended read. It's a very short read. And this right now is currently not operating. We have an issue with the kicker. As you can see, it's stuck down. Something bound up in the kicker last time we ran it. And so once we get the new auto shop, aviation shop going, the motor has to come out and figure out what's up with it. But other than that, it's a very beautiful motorcycle, nice driving. Low center of gravity. It handles very well for being as old as it is. Any questions? Come on. Warren's not here to stump me.
How many years?
4. We're neutral.
One down,
There.
three up?
Yeah, pretty much. Neutral's all the way down, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Shift forward. Yeah. Bob. It sounds a lot like a Model T. Inline 4-cylinder. It sounds somewhere between a Model T and a Farmall H. You know, that's a good question. I don't know. I guess in the 700 to 800 pounds. It's a fairly heavy motorcycle, but it is aluminum castings. It's a lot. It feels a lot lighter than it is when you're driving it. Just because it is a low center of gravity. It's very well balanced. Up and running in this shape, this is probably a $50,000 to $80,000 bike. And if you get one that's non-molested, original, it'll probably touch 100K. These are in the very sought after. The only thing more sought after, I think, right now are Bruff Superiors and Pierce Arrow inline 4s. They're all right up there in the motorcycle world. So we have a very nice collection of motorcycles here, and you know, that I can't answer. I assume it is. This was painted back in 1981, 1982, and Warren could actually answer that question. I believe it is. It is a correct color for a Henderson. Whether it's the color this bike was, I don't know. But this entire restoration, other than the lower end of the engine, was done in-house. So it was painted here. The seat was covered here. Everything you see other than the lower end of the engine, and that was done, I don't remember. Warren told me years ago where it was done, and I don't remember. Anything else?
Chain driven?
Chain driven.
How's it loop?
Squirt bottle.
You gotta do it yourself.
You got to do it yourself. This is a unit. This is a unit constructed. Engine and transmission are all one piece. It is a completely sealed unit. If this bike is leaking, something's wrong. There is a speedometer. It's kind of a Rube Goldberg speedometer drive. This big sprocket here, that's your speedometer drive. Leading link front suspension, very similar to Harley-Davidson's. Linkert carburetors are the Holley NH carburetor of the motorcycle world. We have 5 motorcycles in this building that all use the same carburetor over probably a 15-year span. And just shared componentry. Cool. Thank you very much.